What really got me in was one particular module that you had about soul plan. That was the thing like, okay, that's my school. I need to go there because I need to learn soul plan. And later on, then you wrote also a book about this. And another thing that I love, and you're going to talk more today, is the soul transformation therapy that came later on. But think about I found holistic healing college about 11 years ago. Time flies. Like that was my first thing. When I really stepped into coaching, I was like, I need to do the work in the world and found holistic healing college. Could you explain a little bit because soul plan and soul transformation therapy and what
Yeah,
they are? If people are now like, they might be like me, curious after
yeah,
hearing
yeah,
the name,
yeah,
but
yeah.
what are they?
So, I've described that there's a number of different modalities within our course, and they're all things that I think are essential for a modern practitioner. A practitioner who wants to deal with a wide remit of clients. So we've got soul transformation therapy now, which really condenses all of these modalities, and I'll give a little demonstration or a little sort of healing intervention for some of your listeners shortly. But that's linked to the soul plan, which is the theme of the book I wrote for Hay House. And Soul Plan is a system which looks at a person's overall life purpose, their challenges in life in both the worldly and the spiritual aspect. And it's based on the vibration of the letters in a person's name. So I knew we needed to have some kind of system in there to, really get a deeper idea of what's going on with a client at a deep level. And we've got all these fantastic things around like astrology and numerology and Enneagram, human design, and all many different modalities. And I'd looked at many of them. I was particularly interested in Enneagram and also in Chinese astrology, because when I was younger, I had also got into qigong, and looking at the things like the I Ching and Chinese astrology really goes hand in hand with that practice. So I would often use that as a modality, but I was also interested in Kabbalah,
Hmm.
and I was also really drawn to the Jewish mystical tradition. It was another thing, actually, fun enough, since I was a teenager that I was really obsessed with. And I was fortunate enough to come across a fairly obscure system, which when I initially came across it, it was almost a little bit sort of biblical at first,
Hmm.
um, which worked with the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. And this is the same thing that we use in the soul transformation therapy. And it's got some links to tarot, which is why in soul transformation therapy we use cards to diagnose people's issues. But in the soul plan, and that's the book I wrote, it's all about looking at the name and the vibration of the letters of the name in order to create a star for each individual, a bit like this one. You can see at the back of me, that's what we call star of creation. And you can see there's two triangles, one pointing down towards the earth and one pointing up towards the heaven. The little symbols in each of the different triangles are related to different aspects. You could call them karmic aspects. So each one of these 6 aspects you could call it a karmic aspect of life. karmic in the sense of something that we go through, not, in any kind of sense of punishment, but more in something that needs to be experienced, or something we experience. But some of the quadrants are more challenging than the others. So this one, which I think I'm pointing to, it's always difficult when you're doing it on a screen like this. But this one would relate to the worldly challenges. So whatever someone has there is going to be a little bit more difficult for them initially, anyway, to experience. And then there's ones like the one at the bottom. That's something, call that the talents. It's still karmic experience in that something people do experience, but it can be a little bit easier to access, and it can often be connected with some real ability that a person has, or they can access quite easily. Then there's one at the top, that's the challenges. And it's the same with the spiritual as well. The worldly aspect is all about us integrating into society. Usually takes about 30 odd years to do that. And then the spiritual, it's always there, but initially, and that's the upward triangle, initially it's more in our kind of inner life. But as we connect, as we get into our service roles, as people become, as I think your group's called, light workers, they'll connect more and more with this upward triangle and begin to access some of these energies that are in the upward part of the triangle. And this is something that we can read. And the name is a clue for us. Names are very important. Names are how we identify ourselves, and they're also the identity that is given to us. And there'll be there's different sorts of ways of thinking about this, but some people would say, well, it's like the incarnating soul. They telepath that name to the mother, and the mother knows the child's going to be called that particular name. It's the whole name that's important. So it's like the middle name as well, whatever's put on the birth certificate that we'd use in order to work out the soul plan. But it generates a pattern like this with one in the middle. The one in the middle is like we call it soul destiny. It's like our core energy. This is what we're really wanting to get to. And all the others are like petals. You can fold them in and they become that one that's there in the middle. That's the core energy for someone. So each of the symbols have a different meaning. So for example, that one there, you can see that it's like we call it a link in the chain. And it's like a link and then two other links joined to it. So that one's all about drawing people together, like-minded people, bringing them together in order to help them unite internally and with each other. So there'll be a different theme. Other people will have a theme in their soul destiny, which might be all about, connecting with their abundance and sharing abundance. With other people, it might be about totally connecting with their creativity.
Yeah.
With other people, it might be about totally grounding themselves in the world and sharing spiritual energy in society. So that everyone on our course learns, as you did as well, and then you can bring it into your counseling, or as you would into your coaching practice. And even before you meet your clients, you're going to have a pretty good idea what's going on with them once you learn to read the information from these symbols. But the symbols themselves, have a lot of information. They were channeled by Frank Alper, who was a metaphysician from the last century, who created this method, this gematria method for working this out. Although the actual deeper meanings come from an ancient book called the Sefer Yetzirah, which is an ancient text which has had a big influence. It's not that well known, but it's had a big influence on Kabbalah, tarot, Western magic, etc. So that's what we'll use to find out what's going on with people. And then a lot of our students as well will learn the soul transformation therapy, which is a system where we use these symbols to find out what's blocking you at this moment in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And once we get that information, then we've got 7 different ways in which we can help the people.
Yeah. And you promised actually a little taster of this
Sure.
soul transformation therapy
Yeah.
for our audience now.
Yeah.
So just want to invite everyone to take as comfortable position as you can and get ready to this amazing demonstration as Blue will share with us.